recognitions this evening. I'm going to guess you have homework to do, so no worries if you exit. At this time, we're going to move into our administrative report section. So, as you know, under our new structure, one of the things that we do is respond to questions from prior board meetings for the board's information. And one of the questions raised at the last meeting was the claims audit and responsibilities. Mrs. Newman will report on that to the Board of Education at this time.
Thank you, Dr. James. Yes, a question had come up regarding the claims auditor, what the role was, and whether or not other school districts employ a claims auditor to take over that role from the Board of Education. I did do a survey of all of the Western Suffolk-Boise school districts. Of the 17 other districts, 13 responded. All of them utilize a claims auditor to audit through the vouchers. In addition, I believe that they also utilize a claims auditor, that there were no districts that were utilizing the entire Board of Education for that purpose. The next question that was asked is if I could produce how many checks were generated by the school district. We have done that for the 12-13 school year. There were 7,209 checks known as accounts payable checks, which are for services expenditures, and there were 33,244 payroll advices, for a total of 40,453.
Mrs. Newman, is it accurate that the claims auditor actually reviews those checks?
The claims auditor reviews every accounts payable check, which was the 7,209 checks that were produced. For payroll, there is a sampling done each pay period by the claims auditor. She audits 5 randomly picked individuals each pay period.
Are there any questions from the board? Thank you. The next item is Race to the Top funding and student privacy matters. Student privacy matters are a hot topic in the community, in the media, in legislative offices, and there's a lot of misinformation. So Mr. Inforna, who is our CIO, our Chief Information Officer, among other things, is going to produce a report for the Board of Education at this time. For the community's sake, in the back, there are copies of the information that Mr. Inforna has provided to the board. Mr. Inforna?
Thank you, Dr. James. Members of the board, certainly has been a question about student data privacy and Race to the Top. I've had the opportunity to speak with the Race to the Top program coordinator and review some of the state documents about the topic of opting out in student data privacy. It's important for you to know that when a district opts out of Race to the Top, that has a meaning to it in the respects that districts still are required to abide by the APPR education law. That's the teacher and principal evaluation law. Districts are still mandated to report student data to the state. However, at the top of the In Bloom, the district does not send any data to In Bloom. And when you opt out, or if you choose to opt out, even though you're not a Race to the Top district, the state is still sending your district's data to In Bloom through a statewide data set. So even if the district is not, was, or ever was a Race to the Top district, the state will still send their data to In Bloom. Furthermore, with the monies that come, the funds come with the Race to the Top grant, the district's original allocation was about $34,000. If the district was to opt out of Race to the Top, whatever monies that have not yet been expended are not available to the district. For us, that means approximately $8,700 or so. So if the district chose not to opt out, we would not have those funds available to us this year. Furthermore, there are some unknowns, even in conversation with the Race to the Top coordinator, that come with opting out. So for example, if a district does opt out and Race to the Top is reauthorized in future years, it's unknown if the district is going to be able to reapply for those funds once the district opts out. And again, that's an unknown, and there's no answer to that at this point in time. Furthermore, the ramifications for opting out are unknown as well. There is none as far as the program coordinator said to us. But we do know that if a district was to opt out, you really have to do the same thing that you've been doing. The only difference is you're not required to utilize an Engage New York data portal. However, your data is still being sent there. Finally, the state published a Engage New York portal fact sheet, which is available on engagenewyork.org. And in there, it does note that when it comes to parents being able to opt out their students' data, there is no provision at this point in time for parents to opt their student data out of data systems. And those, again, are published in the state report. Thank you.
So the information that Mr. Informer just discussed is available in the folder that the board has. Further, there are copies for the community in the back. The issue at hand really is the data that's produced internally that's sent to the state, which the state, although they have postponed when they'll send it to Bloom, is indicating they will send to Bloom the third-party vendor, and the concerns are with regard to how that data will be managed over time once it leaves the district's hands. I see Mr. Barnowski would like to
I
get
just want to add that the school law conference we had in December, where some of you were there, the panel of attorneys that opined on the subject, including myself, there is no legal unilateral withdrawal from Race to the Top. SED is apparently acquiesced in certain districts from, I think, Westchester and North in allowing them to, quote, opt out. But the document itself does not have any unilateral termination. So while it does not appear that SED is looking to so-called claw back funds that have already been expended, received and expended by districts, under the document as a matter of contract, they could. So legally, it's a very, very gray area.
So our recommendation right now is to make no recommendation except to continue forward with Race to the Top, in as much as every provision, with the exception of their parent portal, we would be obliged to. And we have our own parent portal. So for now, our recommendation is to do nothing and continue moving forward because we're bound under the law to abide by those regulations. Are there any questions from the board?
I have a question about the
Sure.
The concern is with Bloom and the security. What is Bloom's legal responsibility to keep this data secure, or do they have?
They have, under the contract, it does indicate that they are legally bound to maintain the security of the information. However, by their own admission, they will be giving, if you will, that information to other vendors. What they won't do is guarantee the security of those other vendors. And so the data lives on in perpetuity, and there is a list of all the data that will be included in that, and it ranges from your address to your discipline issues to your GPA to your state test scores, everything under the sun. And of course, we're concerned with that, very much so. If we had a legal way to withhold that information from the state, we would. You can bet if we don't give it to them, they'll come and take it. So for now, and we're fighting this at every level, both legislatively. Senator Flanagan has indicated he supports a parent opt-out from that data being sent to the state, but to date, there is no law that would allow us to withhold that information. So those are good questions. Okay, moving forward, there are some things that came out in the governor's state aid proposal yesterday. Smart Schools funding, which is money for technology in schools, full-day pre-kindergarten funding, the governor's tax freeze proposal, and gap elimination adjustment. We have very limited information on any of those items, so as that information becomes available, we'll present that to the board. We're also not sure if they'll actually make it through the Senate and the Assembly. So if they do, we expect to have more guidance, but for now, all of those are ideas floated by the governor, and we will present as we gain the information. So there's a lot of conversation, there's a lot of questions. I have a million questions about each one of these. They are significant items, but we will present them as the information becomes available. Mike? So tonight you're going to see a presentation with the instructional program highlights, and I want to pause and take note of the administrators that are in the room tonight. I want to thank them both for the work that they've been doing in preparing for tonight and that they do day in and day out, and for being here as well. It's a testament to your dedication. But moving forward, we're going to do the highlights tonight, and then as you can see, we have a list of presentations moving forward that moves rapidly, and it gets us through the budget development process as well. so you'll see many familiar faces. What we've done over the years now is modify how we do our presentations, and instead of doing the program highlights the same night as we do proposals for next year's budget, we've broken them out and we do the program highlights early. So that's what we're going to see tonight, instructional program highlights from a litany of administrators. Even the ones who don't speak have something to do with the development of tonight's presentation. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Pecora, the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, who will begin tonight's presentation. Dr. Pecora.
You don't think I would be a teacher, right? You know.
Good evening, Dr. James and members of the Board of Education. It is my great pleasure to present the highlights of our instructional and academic programs tonight. The quote that's on the slide is really the core and the essence of what we do. Dr. James has stated earlier in the year, our goal is to provide access and opportunity for every student at every level. And as I said, that drives our instruction, that drives our curriculum, and that drives the professional development that we do throughout the district. Our two main curriculum and instruction goals that were set forth by the Board of Education this year, the first one really focuses on the expansion and the constant review and alignment of our curriculum and the instruction that we provide to our students. One of the things that's within that first goal is the idea that we are a high-performing district. So being a high-performing district, the question really is, how do you bring great to greater? And it's through that constant process of review and self-reflection. The second bullet focuses on all the work that we've done at the secondary level with regards to providing greater opportunities for our students so that they can achieve whatever they'd like to achieve once they graduate from high school. And with that, we've done a tremendous amount of expanding our opportunities. At this point in time, we've expanded and added AP courses, IB courses, and we have a number of affiliations that have accredited our courses at multiple universities and colleges. Now, this is my biggest challenge. My biggest challenge is to try to get through this slide in 3 minutes. This is an overview of our K through 12 instructional program, and I'm going to start at the top and then go clockwise. We are extremely proud of our ELA program, K through 12. We start with the children with readers and writers workshops, and through a continuum of building literacy skills, we provide them with opportunities to succeed in whatever they'd like to do, as I said before, when they graduate from college. And we know that our children do very well when they exit Commack High School because of the anecdotal stories that come back and how well our students do. One indicator is that in the June Regents last year, 98% of our students passed that exam at the first sitting of the exam. We also encourage the exploration of second languages. So our world language program, again, is very unique in that we offer a comprehensive program starting in 6th grade, going through 12th grade. And our math program is really unsurpassed. We do a very, very high level of research as the children progress through the math program. They understand why they are doing the math, not just the simple algorithms of the math. And in addition to that, our students do extremely well in all the math competitions that they participate in. We really are very, very strong contenders. Likewise, our social studies and science programs are unique in that they are hands-on, they are based on an inquiry model, and they are embedded with research. Our students are no strangers to the libraries, and as you progress down the bubbles, you'll see library and research is there because it's such an integral part of our school buildings. The libraries are the hub. And the technology that we infuse within the libraries and in our computer rooms and in our classrooms puts research at the students' fingertips. In addition to that, I think Dr. James said this before, and it was really a line that I had already written into this presentation. Really evidence of the success of our Fine and Applied Arts program is the fact that Paul Infante is always at almost every single board meeting presenting the accomplishments of our fine children. Again, our concerts are just magical, And one of my favorite events is the Newsday Marching Band competition. When Commack was on the field at Hofstra, everybody stops and watches. And it's a combination of the camaraderie that we have at that event between the football team, the band, and the Cougarettes. Health and PE and athletics. Mr. Friel on February 13th will be doing a separate presentation on athletics in the PE program, but I feel that I would be remiss if I didn't mention the incredible program that we have in our health and PE program. Kids from the age of kindergarten are in yoga classes, and they continue with a very, very vast offering of PE courses. They can take Pilates, they can take weight training, they can take dance programs, and I think that speaks to our creativity and the fact that we want children to be comfortable in all the classes that they take in our school district. In addition to that, we have, again, a very, very unique honor of being named a school of distinction with regards to our athletic teams. What's required for that, it's issued by Suffolk Community, and what's required for that is that our varsity teams have to have a minimum average. Every team has to have a minimum average of 90. We were one of 2 districts, and I think it's fair to say the other district is much, much smaller than we are. There are only 2 districts in Suffolk County that had gotten that distinction. Again, access and opportunity is the common thread that takes us through the entire circle, as is our social and emotional developing and learning programs. The SEDL programs are constant, K through 12, and it really emphasizes Commack is a place of caring and consideration. And the children and the teachers and the administrators all speak to the importance of being a member of a community and giving back. And our special education program is extremely extensive, and it's an integral part of our instructional program. So with that, I'm going to introduce our Assistant Superintendent for Pupil Personnel Services, Mrs. Amy Ryan.
Hello. We remain exceedingly proud of our special education programs. I think you know that. As a board, we talk about it frequently. So I just want to touch on a few things. I always like to address how many students we really deal with from a special ed standpoint. Sometimes people are surprised at the number. We have approximately 1,000 children from this district and from our private schools that are within our borders, who we serve in one capacity or another. We are most proud of the fact that of those students, over 92% of them are served here at home in Commack. That is really our biggest pride, because we feel strongly that that's where our children belong, and that's where the parents want them, and that's where we want them. So we really are just incredibly proud of that. And because of that, I'm going to speak only a few moments tonight, because you will find that the special education program is so integrated within our buildings that the principals, when they talk about the K through 12 program, we're going to talk about special ed too. But a couple things I can't resist the urge to highlight are that we're particularly proud of this year is the fact that we've expanded our special class opportunities into more buildings within the district, which means that more and more children are not only able to stay home in Commack, but are able to attend their home neighborhood schools. Very important thing for us. We continue to enhance the programs that exist in our buildings through partnerships with outside agencies and other private schools, through curriculum writing, creative scheduling, professional development, and the expansion of some of our parent programs. We're continuing our summer program again this year. It'll be our 3rd year. It's ever expanding and ever improving. And of course, we are continuing our guest student program. So those, again, are some of the highlights. We, as Dr. Kaur mentioned, relative to initiatives throughout the district, we continue to strive to do better and better. And we will do better and better because of the support that we have. So without further ado, we're going to move on to the K through 12 highlights. So I just want to let you know who you'll be seeing this evening. So we're going to start off with the K-5 highlights, and Mrs. Studley and Mrs. Pratt are going to talk to you a little bit about that. And then from there we'll move into the middle school, where Mr. Davidson will share some exciting information, and then Mrs. Nolan will wrap up by highlighting some of the things that are going on in the high school. So we're going to pass this on to Mrs. Studley. Mr.
You're hired for the clicker.
Good evening, Dr. James and members of the Board of Education. Mrs. Collison, Mrs. Pratt, Mrs. Ream, Mr. Simpson, Ms. Tagretti, and I collaborated with Dr. Pecora, Mrs. Ryan, and Mr. Inforna to create the following presentation of the elementary level curriculum program highlights. And now, it's a pleasure to introduce Mrs. Pratt, who will begin with the English language arts.
Good evening, everyone. Our goal at the elementary level is to support our students as they grow as readers and writers. We truly want to instill in them a love of reading, and we have been extremely pleased this year with the professional development at both the primary and intermediate level. Our professional development has allowed us to align our curriculum with the Common Core learning standards and provide a similar methodology for how we teach reading K through 5. A reader's workshop model has been adopted, and it allows us to engage our kids in guided reading instruction to target skills and strategies. A progression of skills are weaved into the instruction. For example, a student will move from simply identifying a character in a book to understanding how that character changes, and especially when you change the setting. A true highlight has been that our teachers have been directly involved in the writing of curriculum, our curriculum maps and units of study. We are creating curriculum that is developmentally appropriate and that is our own at both the primary and the intermediate level. We will soon be beginning a poetry unit, which is just in time for Valentine's Day. And we continue to modify and differentiate the instruction to meet the needs of all of our learners. I wanted to just quickly share with you 2 examples of what you might find in the classroom libraries. This is a nonfiction book called Under the Ground, Machines at Work. And this is something that a 2nd grader or a 3rd grader would just love. The pictures are captivating. And then in, say, grades 4 or 5, biography on Rosa Parks to detail the civil rights movement. So a few examples. In math, our emphasis with math has been to increase the time on task spent on learning math and to try to incorporate the use of math manipulatives to give students a concrete experience. Concerted effort has been made with scheduling to really preserve instructional time for math and not to pull students who might need remediation or have to go for a violin lesson. Those scheduled times are at a different time. There's also been an emphasis with the Common Core learning standards to solve problems in multiple ways. For example, 4th graders who are learning about perimeter will learn that they can solve by adding up all the sides of a rectangle. They could add 2 lengths plus 2 widths. They could multiply. They could count the manipulatives that they have laid out around that rectangle. And in one lesson, Cheez-It crackers were being used, and the students were just loving it. They wanted to eat the crackers, but they were counting to solve perimeter. Another important component with the math is the use of instructional technology. Our Envision Math program emphasizes lots of lessons on the smart boards. There's at-home logins to reinforce the concepts from the day. And our professional development with math is ongoing. We are focusing on the state-released math modules and what we feel should be adapted to meet the needs of our Commack students. So there's a lot happening with math. Mrs. Sedley?
The focus of science instruction at the elementary level is inquiry learning through a hands-on approach. Lessons are scheduled in the science lab at the primary level once a week and at the intermediate level twice a week, which is developmentally appropriate for our children. An example of a 2nd grade lesson is for students to predict if a variety of different shaped containers contain the same amount of liquid. Students have the opportunity to look at all the containers and talk with each other, and then they measure the contents into a standardized measuring cup. This lesson is just one example of hands-on discovery learning at its best. Our students learn about their community and make real-world connections as they study social studies topics, such as geography, economics, and government. We foster an interdisciplinary approach to teaching science and social studies by incorporating these topics into our ELA map. Our students read a wide selection of nonfiction texts, learn topic-specific vocabulary, and address different ELA writing units of study through these content areas. Our academic program is enhanced by our special area and technology programs. We encourage our students to use their own learning style to master a variety of skills. We guide our students to excel in academics as well as through our art and music programs depending on their individual talents. All our primary and intermediate schools are equipped with video conferencing technology. We are now able to bring the world to our classrooms and provide our students with the opportunity to visit museums and national parks through this exciting technology. In addition, we continue to infuse iPad technology into both our primary and intermediate level instructional programs. Throughout the year, we schedule a variety of arts and education programs that enhance our instructional program and beautify our buildings with permanent installations such as murals, mobiles, three-dimensional projects, and benches that our students create with local artists as part of our Artist in Residence series.
We are very proud of the variety of extracurricular activities offered at the primary and intermediate level. All 6 of our buildings have been recognized year after year as honor schools through the Suffolk County Reading Council competitions, and that is not an easy feat, for sure. Students submit artwork, writing, and it's always recognized here in Commack. Students who are struggling have support and targeted instruction through our academic intervention services and special education programs. If a student has an IEP and they are working with a specialist to meet their goals in speech, that student may see that specialist 3 times a week to work on language. We have, as you can see, just a variety of enrichment programs available to students, from geography bees to National Science League, school-wide enrichment. A couple weeks ago, there was a visitor that came in during lunchtime. There's a lunch and learn program. She was from Stony Brook University. She was a computer software engineer, and she was speaking to the children about technology and various advances with technology. The students were amazed because she brought with them an example from something printed from a 3D printer, which I was amazed at. I think that's probably a stock to buy, 3D printers. And the kids really had a great experience, and it brought the real world into the classroom. And as Dr. Bakora said, and Dr. James, access and opportunity is so important for our kindergarten through 5th graders. Beyond the classroom, our goal is to create a culture of caring and an inclusive learning environment that truly teaches students tolerance. Character education is the key at all levels, and every building has a different spin on how they strengthen the social, emotional development of our students. From gratitude assemblies to peaceful bus programs, Caps for Kids Day, town meetings, weekly gatherings, these are all ways in which we promote respectful and responsible student behavior. Service learning, well, it begins really in kindergarten, and our hope is that as it becomes a way of life for our students after graduation. When our students bring in a can of food for a food drive, or a coat for a coat drive, or they're writing letters to the soldiers, they are really learning about how their efforts can make a difference in the lives of others. Mrs. Stephen?
The connecting circles illustrate the key elements of our elementary program. The elementary principals and teachers continue to reflect and review what we want our students to know, do, and truly understand. We evaluate our curriculum to be certain that we are aligned. We examine our ELA program horizontally as well as vertically to build on students' literacy skills in all academic areas, kindergarten to 6th grade. We evaluate our curriculum assessments to be sure that they are academically appropriate. and we support our teachers with ongoing professional development workshops scheduled throughout the year. We encourage our students to be proud of all they do to benefit the members of our community. We include our parents more than ever into their children's learning process, and we appreciate that the members of our PTAs have embraced our community outreach programs as well as our instructional programs. Thank you, and now it's a pleasure to introduce Mr. Davis.
I'm feeling like a token male. I can tell I spent too much time in middle school when I had to resist the urge to photobomb all the pictures of all the awards that the high school students were receiving. It's not that I have middle child syndrome, but we often laugh about that. And I think one of the key things is when you look at this district is the foundation that is set in the elementary and intermediate schools. I kind of use the metaphor, and yes, I have an English background, but I consider that the roots are planted firmly there. When they get to the high school, they're ready to blossom. In between, we get to prune. We deal with hormonal teenagers who are uncertain and apprehensive about where they're going in life. However, they're also ready to explore and find out who they are, what their passion is. Enrichment for all of them and opportunities for all of them, and we really strive to work to do that. A lot of you have heard about the Common Core standards and how that's sort of driven instruction towards testing. Testing and assessment are somewhat different. Assessment is to really try to understand what a student knows, whereas testing is to take a snapshot, an audit, an evaluation, to assign a number to that. And in the middle level, we really value the process because we see the long view. If students really come to understand and grapple with the process, in the end, the outcomes will be there. Because they're 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, the outcomes may not. But if they value the process, we know and we trust. And that is really central to us as the only middle years program, the IB middle years program on Long Island. Because that is a philosophy that extends throughout the IB. That we have students who are critical thinkers who engage in real-world problem solving and focus and emphasize the process. And so we are very lucky and fortunate to be a part of that. We are part of an international collaboration of schools. We have a network throughout the world. We work with schools in other continents. It is also a reflective model of teaching and learning and collaboration. So that really is at the core of what we do. And it drives our focus on curriculum development. I know that we've talked a lot about the individual subjects, and not much of that changes from these levels forward other than the course offerings. But I want to focus on really what drives us and our philosophical beliefs, and the fact that we're in a district that embraces them. When we consider how we're going to design units and plans of study, and again, assessments, for us, project-based learning, hands-on, real-life experiences. Now, students writing essays, not that you're just going to hand to the teacher, but really a persuasive essay where they critique a social issue and then try to publish it, rather than what we used to do in school, hand a paper to the teacher grades it, gives it back, and you got a grade. There's much more to it. Our teachers and administrators, we work to design units with an enduring understanding. And that's part of what we call a UBD approach, but it's also an MYP approach. A lot of acronyms, but what it really truly means is that when we plan units, we ask the pivotal questions. Why do kids really need to know this? What do we want them to know about this subject and this topic and this content today, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? So our kids shouldn't come in saying, why are we learning exponents? What we want them to understand is we're learning about exponents because exponential thinking, our actions have exponential consequences. So we look at that through the lens of unit questions. Again, in science, it used to be, we learned about systems and organizations. Now, it's how we're living things organized. So kids look at that not only from a scientific perspective, but also a social perspective. When you look at class and racial lines and segregation and things of those natures. So we look at questions that extend through disciplines. We also, again, embrace authentic experiential learning, as I've talked about before. And that's really the help, because the Common Core Standards has a real stringent set of comprehensive standards, but we do, as a district, have the ability to adopt, adapt, or rewrite them. The IB allows us to rewrite them in a way that's really, truly meaningful. The district allows us the opportunity to adapt and to rewrite them when necessary. There are districts that are adopting the Common Core units of study wholeheartedly at the middle level. Units of study that have never been piloted and never been used before. So I think that that for us has given us the freedom to do what we know is best for kids. And of course, we have a culture of literacy. I am, along with Teresa Donahue, the chairs of the Secondary Education Literacy Committee, and that's comprised of about 20 individuals from every discipline. It is a working research group where we research, we use practical applications to the current research in promoting literacy in every subject area, and then we perform professional development with staff. We have extensive classroom libraries, and you cannot tell children that reading is important unless you dedicate time. So when parents ask us, what can we do to help our kids with the Common Core? More than anything, the single most thing we can do is expose them to different types of reading and to actually help them develop fluency in areas that they love as well. We do have access and opportunity, and that's part of the IB philosophy. It isn't reducing everything to the median, just meeting everyone in the middle. It's actually challenging kids, every kid. We don't track because we don't believe in putting labels on children at 10, 11, 12, and 13, 14-year-olds. Labels that will follow them quite often a lot. And they're not ready to be labeled at that age. There are some exceptions to that in terms of developmental readiness, but it's very, for most, we don't. And that really causes us to think about how are we purposefully challenging those students in our class who need to be challenged, and how are we supporting those who need the support. We also, I talked about the authentic collaboration with other schools, we're part of professional circles. We have schools visit us. We have another visitation tomorrow from Long Beach. Rockville Center was in last week. Locust Valley has been here. Massapequa has been here. They come to us to learn about our practice in teaching and learning, and that's driven by the middle year program. Obviously, we do have high school math and science courses for our 8th graders. 40% of our 8th graders take 2 Regents exams and go on to high school credit. Roughly 99% of our students walk away with high school credit in science. We have a 3-year language program. Not every middle school does. It begins in 6th grade. Our special education, people move here for our special education programs. In addition to our small class, our skills class, and the various models that we have, we also have a thriving 812 program. And I know Mrs. Nolan will talk about the 812 program that's new to the high school this year. And it allows us to keep our students with us and also to have them be a valuable part of our community. And of course, we have our sports, musical performances, participation activities. Our focus is always trying to figure out within budgetary lines, within an era of Common Core standards, is how do we maintain program for our kids who have interest in many, many different areas. Because we know sometimes at this age, they only come to school for that one area. And if we can keep them in the game, then eventually they will blossom and grow and grab onto the others. Of course, we too are a community where we develop students with social and emotional learning and development. And just a couple highlights. We obviously have a response to intervention instructional support team, just as every building does, where if students are really struggling, we have a team of teachers, psychologists, social workers, administrators to sit and evaluate how to best support a child. Positive behavioral intervention services. We've always been proactive. We've always wanted to embed within instruction the concept of tolerance, and we always have. With the onset of the Dignity for All Students Act, which mandated it, we actually were in great shape to do that. PBIS is a systematic, research-based approach to teaching and learning that helps kids work on cultivating tolerance for others, anti-bullying, and functioning as upstanders. And it's something that we've integrated. Mr. Schmelter and Mr. Aguino worked very hard with the health department to integrate that systematically into their lessons. In addition, we do have transition programs. From the simplest aspect, our kids in 5th coming into 6th grade are petrified of getting lost and not being able to open their lockers. So in August, we let them get their schedules and they come in and they can open their lockers, and it's miraculous how much of a difference that makes in the life of a 10-year-old. And then their parents go to Staples and decorate them, and that's a whole other ballgame. Staples has some business going on with that. But we consider carefully the social emotional components. We have now a 6th grade house. Our students used to come in and they were split into 3 areas of the building. Our entire 6th grade comes in together to ease their transition. They go from a very contained environment to the largest middle school in Long Island. And this is just another way to purposefully ease that transition. In additional other transition programs we now have, where students come in before, work with teachers, work with staff, the parents come into workshops to learn more about the adolescent mind and organization, which they can all use. And we also, of course, have service learning. Every club we have, every team we have, every interdisciplinary team has a hand in it. Whether it's the school-wide adopt a family programs, a courtyard cleanup where our kids take responsibility for their building and they're invested in it, and they look forward to the spring when the bulbs come up. All the way through to, we had students collaborating with Cedar Park Middle School, again, part of the IB network. They contacted us after Hurricane Sandy last year and asked if we could work together in order to raise funds for Long Beach Middle School. And in the end, we ran simultaneous fundraisers, and students from Long Beach Middle School came here with our students and held a garage sale where we raised thousands of dollars that went back into the Long Beach community. And again, for us, it wasn't about writing a check and asking for donations. It was working in order to work arm in arm with the people that you can impact and affect. So it's more than just a giving. I think I've talked to a lot of this, and I'm sure you're sick of hearing me by now. It's been a long presentation, but of course, literacy, creating global minds, SEDL, professional learning. We have staff developers, we do it internal. We have a staff developer now who's working with us in Readers and Writers Workshop. She's the same staff developer in grades 3 through 5. So we have an alignment there, a continuum of education as well. We have obviously interdisciplinary and a real focus on educational technology. Not just having iPads, not just having video conferencing software, but considering how we can use educational technology to advance learning and to advance teaching. So for those of you who know what Edmodo is, we do have vehicles where kids can work remotely, even off a smartphone, to submit work to their teachers, to post work to their teachers, and we have hundreds and hundreds of students doing that, creating videos and on and on. So in the crux in the middle, you'll see the IB learner profile, and it really does speak to what we try to develop. There are 10 fundamental concepts there about risk. Kids, developing students who are risk takers, they're knowledgeable, they're learners who are caring, principled, balanced. And again, we look at these in our teaching, and we have it at the core of what we do. Without any further ado, I'll give you Mr. Commack.
Good evening. It is now my honor to highlight the dynamic programs, coursework, and opportunities on our high school level to promote our students' academic and social and emotional growth. Our focus is to prepare our students for life after high school. Yes, there is life after Commack High School. We strive to promote healthy learners who have choice and voice in the process. We focus on exit criteria and outcomes that allow our students to reach beyond their grasp. We encourage our students to individualize their pathway to success, given their unique abilities, their unique talents and strengths. Our ever-present focus in promoting student learning is what do we want our students to know, to be able to do, and to truly understand, as has been mentioned prior. What do we want our students to be able to use beyond the situational classroom? By focusing on the big picture of how best to prepare our students to be career and college ready, we strive for deep conceptual learning. As captured by our theme, Excellence for All, we embrace the importance of exposing all our students to challenging coursework, including the expansion of college-level course offerings that are developmentally and academically appropriate for them. And in order to prepare our students for 21st century literacy skills, we embed a common thread of literacy over the course of 4 years. Multiple forms of literacy for today's students extend well beyond reading and writing and are intertwined with digital and multimedia literacies. Statistics tell the story. Our students shine in all areas of their chosen academic pathways. Our phenomenal seniors continue to soar in terms of acceptance to the most competitive, highly competitive, and very competitive colleges, which include the Ivy League. Last year's graduates were offered an impressive $27.7 million in scholarships that ease the financial burden for over half of our seniors and their families. We enjoy an enviable reputation of extraordinary academic excellence, as 99% of our 2013 graduates earned a Regents diploma, while 82% of them achieved an advanced Regents diploma. Our college-level course participation and international baccalaureate and advanced placement registrations continue to grow. But we are so much more than numbers. These results reflect the collaborative efforts of all Commack educators and staff members over the course of 13 years who have loved, nurtured, believed in, and challenged our children, beginning in kindergarten when these little ones first landed on our doorstep. In order to provide access and opportunity for all, we intentionally set the table for student learning that is a veritable smorgasbord of opportunities, if you will, in the form of programs, supports, activities, courses, authentic real-world learning experiences. Each Commack High School student has the ability to choose, I emphasize, to choose from a wide range of pathways that develop habits of the mind and habits of the heart, blended with opportunities to engage in service learning. Our student-centered approach allows for a personalized course of study. These programs are steeped in authentic, performance-based experiences that enrich every facet of adolescent development. Please know that our ongoing goal is to expose our high school students to at least one college-level course during their high school experience. The research shows that exposure to collegiate coursework while still in high school is an indicator of future success in college. We intentionally design social and emotional learning opportunities that address adolescent issues. By doing so, we develop our students' capacity to grow in areas of self-awareness, social awareness, relationship skills, self-management, and decision-making skills. Students are also exposed to others' perspectives that enrich their own perspective, such as the riveting interactive presentation by Holocaust survivor Werner Reich. A signature mark of Commack High School is the value that we attach to community and service through intergenerational roundtables with our very own resident experts, our senior citizens, and in joining forces to fight cancer through fundraising, such as St. Baldrick's, Relay for Life, and the Commack Coalition of Caring's initiatives, to name but a few. We are so proud of our students and their academic accomplishments, but equally proud of their significant contributions to our school and our community. In addition to personalized courses of study, we also have active parent advisory groups that stimulate dialogue to benefit our shared students. Together, we engage in productive conversation to support student success. We are also quite proud of our counseling center's college admissions and support program that results in the astounding evidence previously presented. We commit daily to the individual student and his or her unique pathway beyond the walls of Commack High School. We continue to infuse instructional technology, such as high-tech video conferencing, Skyping, iPad learning, digital readers, interactive whiteboards, virtual collaboration, and more. And we're striving to create digital learners who are college and career ready. Our students also create devices that demonstrate their deep understanding of technological and engineering concepts learned through design technological courses and clubs. Our STEM and science research programs continue to flourish, most recently resulting in one of our seniors becoming an Intel semifinalist. Our research students and their teacher mentors continue to excel in regional, national, and international competitions, in addition to being published in research journals. We were awarded a $15,000 grant by the Dwight Stewart Youth Fund to renovate and restore the greenhouse and 2 ponds at Commack High School in the courtyard. Another recent environmental initiative that enhances this grant is our courtyard garden, creating a harvest that directly benefits our local food pantries. We are particularly proud of our special education program and supports to ensure that our students with special needs have equal access and opportunity. A new addition to our Commack High School family this year is our 812 program, a program that not only meets the needs of this select group of individuals, but enriches our entire Commack High School family.
Thank you, Board of Education.
And on behalf of our children and my administrative colleagues and staff of our 8 schools, we thank you for your ongoing support of our children, for your belief in their capabilities to succeed, and in our ability to create healthy and successful learners in the process. We thank you.
At this time, we will entertain any questions from the Board of Education.
I just want to comment that the presentation was excellent, and I'm just combining that with, I was at the Common Core presentation at Burr one night last week, I don't remember which one. And it is amazing when you see the depth of understanding of the staff. And I just want to thank all of you who are here, and if you, when you go back to your home schools tomorrow, pass that on behalf of me.
Thank you.
I concur. So as you know, what our purpose is in doing these presentations is for the board to have a sense of what it is that's happening in the schools year in and year out. In particular, if there are things that have been changing. And as you know, our move away from specialized programs for small numbers of students to access an opportunity for all has come at an expense and really has benefited just a tremendous number of students. And simultaneously, we've seen significant increases in student performance. So we want to continue that, and on February 13th, you will see presentations for athletics, facilities, technology, as well as security. And that will lead us right into the budget workshops, where we will talk about enhancements and movement as we develop the budget for the 14-15 school year. So that concludes the administrative reports. I want to thank all the administrators who helped put this together, and not to mention any number of teachers and other staff who are involved as well. So you guys did a great job. Thank you very much.
Okay. Is there anyone who signed in who has any comments or question on any agenda items? Yes? No?
Yes.
He's not here? Okay. In that case, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the December 12th and January 7th Board of Ed meetings? Motion made by Mrs. Goober, seconded by Mr. Campanini. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Passed unanimously. Can I get a motion to move personnel as attached? Bear with me 1 second. It's like motion made by Mr. Hartman. I'll second it. I would just like to comment that the one resignation in there, I think, is in poor taste by the person who never started the job. All in favor? Passed unanimously. A motion to approve correspondence. It's attached. I will not read them. I'll make the motion, seconded by Mrs. Goober. And I would just like to comment, and I think she left, on the third item, which was the Town Line Association meeting about zoning changes, that Mrs. Verga did attend that. And I think that, once again, those of us in the community may have some major issues with some construction combined with truck traffic just north of the district in that industrial area, and I think we should all be aware of that. Actually, there's no motion, that's just to note that we received it. There's no old business, and there are no bids. Under new business, item A, can I get a motion to approve receipt of the following invoices? Burton Baron Smith, Johnson Controls, and Hawkins Delafield and Wood. So motion made by Mr. Hartman, seconded by Mr. Tampolini. Discussion? All in favor? Passed unanimously. Can I get a motion to approve all of the agreements listed under item B? I'll make the motion, seconded by Mrs. Gruber. Discussion? All in favor? Passed unanimously. New business item C, can I get a motion to approve the district of location contract with Smithtown Central School District for the 2013 school year and authorize the president of the board to sign same? Motion made by Mr. Tampolini, seconded by Mrs. Gruber. Discussion, all in favor? Passed unanimously. Can I get a motion to approve the 2013-14 health services contract with the following providers and authorize the president of the board to sign the same? Syosset, West Islip, and Bay Shore. Motion made by Mr. Hartman. I'll second it. Discussion, all in favor? Passed unanimously. Can I get a motion to accept the following donation? A donation from the Commack Sticks Booster Club of 2 easy folding field hockey goals valued at $955.60 to be used by the Commack High School field hockey teams. Motion made by Mrs. Cooper. I'll second it. Discussion. I'd just like to once again thank the Sticks Booster Club, and as usual, thank everyone in the community for the support they do for us. All in favor? Passed unanimously. Can I get a motion to approve the 3 field trips that are attached? Motion made by Mrs. Cooper, seconded by Mr. Tampolini. Discussion, and as usual, oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a question. So with regard to the varsity cheerleading actions, how much is this costing the district? Is a lot of some of this is being paid by the children themselves. Is that
That trip, that comes at no cost to the school district.
okay?
And as usual, if conditions arise, the superintendent does have the right to cancel this. All in favor? Passed unanimously. Can I get a motion to accept the 2013 Statement of Annual Financial and Operating Information prepared by Munistat Services for required filing with the SEC in connection with the district's continuing disclosure undertaking pursuant to Rule 15C2-12 promulgated by the SEC and authorize the president of the board to sign same? Motion made by Mr. Hartman. I'll second it. All in favor? Passed unanimously. I just like doing the emphasis. Can I get a motion to approve the tuition contract with Elwood School District for a guest student placed in the Commack School District Special Ed program for the 2013-14 school year and authorize the president of the board to sign same? Motion made by Mrs. Cooper, seconded by Mr. Tampolini. Discussion, all in favor? Passed unanimously. Can I get a motion to approve the idea flow-through funds for the following providers and authorize the president of the board to sign the same? NYSARC Inc., Alternatives for Children, Kids Therapy Services, Harmony Heights School, Mary Haven Center of Hope, and ACDS. Discussion. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Motion made by Mr. Hartman. I'll second it. Discussion. All in favor? Passed unanimously. Can I get a motion to approve the District of Residence contract with South Huntington School District for students residing in Commack and attending private or parochial schools in South Huntington that also require special ed services and authorize the president of the board to sign same? Motion made by Mrs. Gruber, seconded by Mr. Hartman. Discussion. All in favor? Passed unanimously. Can I get a motion to approve the obsolescence of the equipment listed? I'll make the motion, seconded by Mr. Tampolini. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Can I get a motion for a first reading of revised board policy 9280, audit committee? Motion made by Mr. Hartman, seconded by Mr. Tampolini. Discussion. And just for edification purposes, this policy cannot be adopted tonight on a first reading. We need all 5 board members to vote unanimously, and because Mrs. Masiello could not be here, we're only accepting it for a first reading, and it will be on next month's agenda for final approval. All in favor? Thank you. That's unanimously. Can I get a motion to approve the application for examination and approval of final plans and specs, scope of proposed project, and state smart growing public infrastructure impact statement for the following project as listed? I'll make the motion, seconded by Mrs. Gilbert. Discussion. All in favor? That's unanimously. Oh, I'm sorry, I went through that too quick.
This is the capital fund project.
Yes.
This is all basically for video surveillance equipment that's going to be installed in various school buildings. I just want to note for the public that this is all grant applications. Not supposed to be for very many of this. So good job to the administration in applying for these. And my second question is, if the installation of these video surveillance cameras is going to be as a result of the contract we have with the security people that they will do an assessment, or are they going to oversee where these, or make suggestions as to where these cameras should be located?
Yes, they have reviewed as a result of that review, I'd have to go back and review that document, but indeed they have reviewed those installations.
Can I get a motion to acknowledge receipt of the statement for professional services rendered on non-returning matters in the amount of $28,088.61 for period ending November 2013, submitted by Len Varnosky? I'll make the motion, seconded by Mrs. Goober. Discussion. All in favor? You want to, wait, discussion, I'm sorry.
I just like to, I have no objection to acknowledging the receipt, but I will reiterate my objection to, an ongoing objection to the district accepting block billing from the law firm. No disrespect to Mr. Bonaski or his firm. I just think it's a practice that, as a client, I would not agree to. But my objection is noted for the record.
Okay. Can I get a motion to acknowledge receipt of the statement of professional services rendered on non-retainer matters in the amount of $26,548.23 for the period ending December 2013, submitted by Lynn Varnosky, motion made by Mr. Hartman. I'll second it. I will assume Mr. Tampolini has the same comment. All in favor? Passed unanimously. Can I get a motion to adopt the following resolution? Upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that the attached agreement is hereby approved and the president of the board is authorized to execute same. I'll make the motion, seconded by Mrs. Goober. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Legal item D. Upon recommendation of the superintendent, can I get a motion? Upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools, be it resolved that the district's counsel, Lemon Varnosky LLP, is hereby authorized to file an improper practice charge in the Public Employment Relations Board against United Public Service Employees Union. I'll make the motion, seconded by Mrs. Goober. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Passed unanimously. Under board business, can I get a motion to acknowledge receipt of the internal claims auditors? I'm going to combine all of these. The CSE, CPSE meetings, and the financial reports, A, B, and C. Motion made by Mrs. Goober, seconded by Mr. Hartman. Discussion. All in favor? Passed unanimously. Can I get a motion to adopt the following resolutions? Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Commack Union Free School District shall hold a regular meeting on Thursday, February 13th, 2014 at 6:30 p.m. at Hubs Administration Center, East Northport. It is anticipated that the board will make a motion for the purpose of adjourning into exec session at this time, and at 8 p.m. the board will reconvene in public session for the purpose of holding its regular business, and then the exact same with the changing dates of February 25th. Oh, that one is, okay, I'm sorry, you're right. That one will be a 7 o'clock meeting, not 6:30. I forgot we changed it. Motion made by Mr. Hartman, seconded by Mr. Tampolini. Discussion. All in favor? Oh, yeah. No, the second one, I'm sorry, the second one, you know what, let me reread it. Well, let me read the second one. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Commack Union Free School District shall hold a special meeting on Tuesday, February 25th at 7 p.m. at Hubs. It is anticipated that the board will make a motion for the purpose of adjourning into exec session. No public action will be taken at that meeting. All in favor? Aye. Passed unanimously. Before we get to public comments, I do also want to remind everyone that Commack Idol Finals will be February 7th, and there is a change in venue. It will be at the high school. And again, I urge everyone to come out. Those of us who were there at the middle school last month, it was just a wonderful night. The students are amazing, amazing. Okay. Were there anyone signed up for a public comment?
I'm the only one?
Good evening, Dan Fusco. I missed the first part of the question, of course, I was off the call. At the beginning of the meeting, Dr. James said something to the effect that he was going to answer the questions that he said he was going to answer from the last meeting. And I had several questions that they said they were going to answer this meeting, and I didn't get the answers. Do you guys have a record of those questions, or do you want me to read off what I recall? One of them was the Energy Connect Incorporated. In the last meeting, there was, in the agenda, there was some sort of a relationship between Johnson Controls and Energy Connect Incorporated. You guys said you were going to answer it at this one. It said something to the effect that whatever money, and I'm going off my recollection because it's old, whatever money was saved through Energy Connect could only be used to pay Johnson Controls or something to that effect?
At the next Board of Education meeting, there will be presentations by facilities, and those items will be addressed at that time.
Okay, well, that's what we said last month.
At the next meeting, there'll be a public presentation.
All right. Does that go for the answer to the question about the maintenance contract with Johnson Controls? Whether or not we had to purchase a maintenance contract as part of the energy project?
Yes.
Another question I asked, and you said you were going to have an answer at this meeting, was how donations, private donations, are funded to the district without going through the Commack Education Fund, and there was no answer tonight on that one.
I'd like to clarify one thing. Questions posed at meetings will be answered at subsequent meetings. Sometimes it is the next meeting, and sometimes it might be additional meetings depending on our presentation schedule. Regarding that particular answer, Mrs. Newman is preparing and will be presenting that at a subsequent meeting.
Okay. One of the questions I've asked at several meetings was about the security audit that we had. Is there going to be an update on the security audit? Are we going to, as the public, going to hear any results from the security audit and what changes are going to be coming about, what deficiencies they found?
I'm going to sound like a broken record,
Yeah.
but it was on the presentation here tonight that at the next meeting we'll be discussing security.
Okay. I'll go back and sound like a broken record too. Did you guys discuss the videotaping? I don't know if there was ever a final answer on videotaping these meetings and putting them on the website.
The board has not made a final determination. We have been gathering additional information, gaining community input, and then I expect that the board will make a determination in short order.
Are there any updates on the Marion Call Farm in regards to, 2 meetings ago, I think there was a motion or a request to form a committee, and the committee was passed on to the Historical Society, the Commack Historical Society. Has there been anything offered from the Historical Society?
The board has not moved on the finalization of the committee for the Marion Carl property. I will tell you that in the facilities update and highlights at the next meeting, you will hear more about the Marion Carl property.
And the last question, I guess, is do we have any projections on this year's surplus, what the surplus potentially is going to be at the end of this year?
At the time, the projections are what we projected when we built the budget. We don't have that information with us, but as we move into March 13th, you will hear then the official projections for surplus on March 13th, which is when I will present a budget to the Board of Education, which includes expenditures, revenues, as well as then the projected tax levy increase.
All right, last question, I guess, is, in Newsday yesterday, I think it was yesterday or the day before, they listed the increases and decreases in state budget and the state budget money that they were gonna give to school districts. And it looks like we fared fairly low, I think, my recollection serves. We're gonna get a 1.77% increase. And other districts are getting 6% and 4%, and some are, getting less money than they got. How is this calculated? Is this, what information do you guys have to provide to?
So, that's the $64,000 question.
64 million.
How they determine increases for school districts. Our increase is almost 100% driven by our expenditures. So in essence, the state flatline Commack, as well as any number of other districts with regard to the formula. So then we got increases in state aid based on how much money we spent to gain aid. So through the efforts of pretty much everybody in this room, we gained an increase. It is not uncommon for districts that have a combined wealth ratio such as ours for that to occur in the governor's run, and in particular on the island. Sometimes the larger increases are associated with districts who get smaller amounts of state aid. So although 6% is a larger percentage, in dollars it's significantly less. There's so many variables at play. I will be at a meeting, as will Mr. Wunsch and Mr. Hartman tomorrow morning, where all of the Long Island legislators will be present. We'll be there again Saturday morning with another group, making our case for increases in aid. The governor's proposal is always the baseline. He does not look favorably on Long Island because we're all wealthy and don't necessarily need the money. So we expect that we will see increases. Actually determining how those increases occur in the formula. Now, we know how ours occurred with regard to cost-driven aid, but in the formula, we don't. So that question is the $64 million question. And as on March 13th, we expect to have closer to a final number, at which time we'll do our best to explain how they arrived at that number for us.
So is it based on what you're currently getting to some extent? Is that part of the formula? I mean, if your expenses go up 100% and they only want to give you 1.7%.
Without sounding facetious, it's almost like the Wizard of Oz, there's someone behind the curtain. You really don't know. And that's part of the purpose of tomorrow, is to talk to Senator Flanagan, who's the head of the Education Committee, the Education Chair, and some of the other legislators there, and tell them why we need more money.
I mean, I think they have the numbers here. That means we're only going to get $500,000 more than we did last year.
That is correct.
And hopefully that's preliminary.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I didn't sign up. Would it be okay if I made a quick comment? George Marine. First of all, let me ask is it okay if I commend certain employees by name?
I guess so. Yeah, as long as you're commending them and not criticizing them.
Yeah, no.
That's it.
No criticisms.
I didn't mean it that way, Steve.
No, I know. You know, from time to time, I'll send emails or, speak to certain administrators commending certain employees, and sometimes it's necessary because, as some of you know, that I'll be the first one to complain when something doesn't go right. My daughter's in 8th grade. My son's special ed, excuse me, in 3rd grade. Last year, my daughter's volleyball coach, Marissa Barron, outstanding. This year, the soccer coach, again, Reed Guariello, outstanding. On to Steve Lund, volleyball. Without getting into specifics, unbelievable. He's a special ed teacher also, and what he brought up about my son, brought tears to my wife's eyes. So these 3 coaches just speak to this district. I mean, from every teacher I've had in this district, my kids, and I'll be the first one to talk about numbers and say sometimes things aren't right, but the people are right. The coaches, and to Pat Friel, he's got to have something to do with these coaches, because it can't just be a coincidence in the district from Dr. James on down to everybody. To my son's teacher, Melanie Murphy. She's unbelievable. What she's brought to my son, and in 3rd grade, it's just unbelievable. And that special ed part comes down to Amy Ryan and everybody in that special ed area. So I guess that's all I want to say, is it just, sometimes it's the people in this district, the teachers and everybody else. The ones I mentioned, I just had to do it. I'm sitting here and I was saying I want to see the meeting. It wasn't my purpose to come here and say that, but after seeing this, I just had to say something. So, thanks, thank you. Everybody.
Thank you. Anyone else? Can I get a motion to adjourn? Motion made by Mr. Tampolini, seconded by Mrs. Goober. All in favor? Passed unanimously.